What stood out to you when it comes to the college football playoff?
What do you mean? What'd you say?
What stood out to you from your numbers? What Sharks are doing?
Yeah. I got a lot to. The phonies that the rankings and my numbers always disagree, and the reason I'm up over 100 and something units with an average bet of 3 around there, so over 30 positions, at least 30-40 positions above 500. Taking advantage of those rankings, and here's what I mean. Here's a perfect example. The rankings have a team like, let me look, James Madison. It ranked 24th. They're not even in my top 40. I have teams like New Mexico. They received votes. New Mexico actually received votes. New Mexico's not in my top 80 power rating. They're not. There's 80 teams that would be favored over New Mexico on a neutral field. And yet some AP poll guys gave them votes. They gave New Mexico votes. They gave UNLV votes. They gave, who else did they give votes to that aren't even in there? Connecticut's not even in my top 90. And they got votes only because of their record. They look at their record. Like if you're 11-2, if you're 9-1, you're in there. It doesn't matter what your strength of schedule is. And that's where you're able to take advantage, because if you look at like the rankings, like a team even in the top 10 would be so heavily favored over teams like that. It's ridiculous. Where in the NFL, you don't get that, Ariel. Right. You'll never have that. And even the 32nd
You'll never see a 25.5 point spread in an NFL playoff game.
And if you do, no, never in a playoff game, never. And if you do, that dog is live. Like it's not dead.
You big dog. You hit Phillip Rivers last week.
That's what I'm saying. It's not dead. It's not dead. In college, you'll get some lucky, like, you know what I mean? Like a UCLA, because they're winning as, 3 touchdown dogs. That'll happen against Penn State, if I remember correctly. But that's not usual. You know what I mean? So, yeah. And speaking of Penn State, perfect example. Penn State, Ariel, since we're talking, we got some time to kill. Yeah. Like most don't realize that the Penn State team right now, as is, all right, let me tell you where I have them. I would make Penn State a dog on a neutral to only 11 teams in all of college football.
Well, it kind of just felt like they went off the rails after the first few losses. Penn State just, okay, that's the problem with the the college football format is once you've lost a couple of games,
that's it.
Season feels over.
That's it. Exactly. But I'm telling you, like you look at teams like 11-2 BYU, 10-2 Vanderbilt. They're barely top 20 teams. Barely. But then there are the legit teams. You know what I mean? Like Notre Dame, 10-2. They are legit. They should be in the playoffs. There's only 2 or 3 teams that would be favored over Notre Dame.
We get JMU instead. I want to talk about the games we do have.
Let's go.
Oklahoma and Alabama going head-to-head tonight in 8-9. Very short spread here. Oklahoma laying about 1.5. Very low total for a college football game, too, at 40.5. What did you say?
I bet the over. I'm on the over. I'll let you know that now. That's a move I gave out to my subscribers. I like that play. I know Oklahoma, known for their defense this year, top 5 defense, and with a top 15 strength of schedule, and it hasn't been the offense that's the strength. They're barely top 40. I do understand that. But usually 2 good defenses like we have tonight is the perfect storm for the over, because you have a lower total because of the narrative, 2 good defenses. But what do 2 good defense sometimes produce? Turnovers, short fields, special teams. That turns into points. It's not a necessarily under, just like 2, high profile offenses isn't necessarily overs, because you have a jacked up total and both coaches don't want the other offense on the field. Like you don't want a shootout. If anything, you want to bore them, keep them on the sideline and not get them in a rhythm if you could help it. So yeah, I like the over. I can tell you my numbers disagree with the market. because the Sharps, the first playoff bet that they placed was actually Oklahoma. The very first text I got was Oklahoma at like plus 2.5 to take Oklahoma plus 2.5 for these guys. I didn't like it because I actually have Alabama above Oklahoma. My power rankings have Oklahoma at 16, and they have Alabama as the 8th best team. The rankings have the opposite. They have, Oklahoma 8th, Alabama 9. Mm-hmm. So when we disagree like that and the market is moving in that direction, I'll respect it. I'll respect the market because usually it's right more times than not. I'll let that go, but I do like the over because, like I said, I think it's too low based on some recency bias and the defenses.
Then we've got tomorrow 3 games on the slate, starting with Miami catching 3.5 against the Aggies. I feel like I've heard a lot of people thinking Miami's a live dog. How much do you agree?
Yeah, Miami's definitely got steamed, and that's another one where the power ratings, obviously, of the betting syndicates agree with mine because I have Texas A&M below Miami, where in the rankings they have Miami 10th, Texas A&M 7th. Texas A&M is barely in my top 20, and Miami's actually 15 in my 15th best team. Like I said, Texas A&M, I've been moving them up, but they're 18th. So I have Miami a little above them. Power rating wise, the wrong team's favored, but you have to factor in, injuries, recent condition, where they're playing, all that stuff. And I think that the move towards Miami was the right side. Tulane, Ole Miss, all one-sided Ole Miss from the recreational bettors. I don't know if this is a game to lay that kind of chalk with Ole Miss, I'll be honest. Because once you get to this point, style points don't matter anymore. You just got to win the football game. You don't want to risk injuries or anything like that. We know who the better team is. Mississippi's legit. They're 6th ranked. I have them 9th. So we're very close. And I don't even have Tulane in my top 50. We know who the better team is on paper, but the spread's the great equalizer. I think 17.5 isn't too high because of where they're playing. It's not home field advantage, but it's in Mississippi. So you got to shade it a little bit that way. If it wasn't in Mississippi, I'd probably have more confidence and say I'd grab the 17.5. I used them for a bet on it because it was the only dog I liked up until that point that I thought was a little bit overpriced. But I haven't gotten to the window with Tulane. And then with James Madison, Oregon, it's the same situation. James Madison, it's a free roll for teams like this. You got to remember it's a free roll.
People in the chat are sprinkling on that JMU money line, but
save your money. Save your money.
I was gonna say, I feel like you feel different.
It's a different class of athletes. It's not the same. Unless the starters get injured in college football, it's not going to happen. We have seen it happen in March Madness where its numbers, the 16th seed beats the 1 seed. That would be the equivalent. And we see it once every 50 years, maybe. So it may happen, but it's not probable. And I don't think the money line reflects any true probability. You're not getting any kind of value by betting James Madison on the money line at all. If anything, I would take the points and hope, they could keep it within the number if you like them that much. But yeah, Oregon's legit. In fact, they have them as the 5th best team in the country. I have them as the 4th best team in the country. So I think Oregon's even better than they're giving them credit for. And there's no disrespect to James Madison. And again, this is a free roll for them. What do they got to lose? But they had the 100th most difficult schedule in college football. You should be 12-1. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And yet with that schedule, they're barely a top 50 offense, barely a top 40 defense. So yeah.